Hi, thank you for joining CAA's virtual travel weekend. My name's Patricia. I'm at CAA Fredericton. Joining me today will be Trudy from our Dartmouth office and Brad from Insight Vacations Canada. Before we get started, I'd like to bring up some housekeeping points just to make your trip more enjoyable. First of all, you've all been muted throughout the presentation in order to avoid feedback and any background noises. On the screen in the upper right-hand corner, there's a little orange arrow that will open a menu to you where you can ask questions. Those questions will be answered in real time. If we get to the end of the presentation and we haven't answered your question, we'll answer them via email in the next 24 hours. We also would like to remind you that the volume may have to be adjusted as each of us speak at different levels. You can watch it on your TV if you have streaming devices, and that will give you a greater view and a more real experience. The presentation will be approximately 30 minutes long. And again, we'll be answering your questions as quickly as we can. And at this point, I would like to introduce you to my esteemed colleague, Trudy, who is going to tell you why Scotland's on her top 10 bucket list. Trudy, take it away.
Thank you, Patricia. Well, I have not yet experienced Scotland. However, it is definitely on my bucket list of places to go and places to see. I had the pleasure of attending back in 2019 an education session where I learned a lot about Scotland, and it lit just excitement. And I really think it would be kind of like going home again. I just think with the history and the landscape and the architecture, it's going to definitely be a wonderful, memorable trip. So I'm looking forward to learning more about Edinburgh and Glasgow and Inverness and throw in the Loch Ness Monster. I'm looking to just again, and I know, Patricia, you've definitely seen some of these sites firsthand. So tell us, what did you enjoy about your time in Scotland?
Thank you, Trudy. I've had the pleasure of traveling to Scotland on more than one occasion.
Wow.
I've been several times. It still has not been enough. I can't wait till I get to go back again. Edinburgh, one of my favorite cities. It's so easy to walk around the pubs, the history, the architecture, the palaces, the Royal Mile, the Grass Market, climbing up to Arthur's Seat in the evenings, doing the underground tours of the city and the graveyards, the history, the culture, the food. A lot of people think haggis, that's it. Potatoes, that's it. One of the finest culinary experiences you can have is in the city of Edinburgh. And then you leave and you have the dynamic diversity of Glasgow. You go to the Highlands. The scenery everywhere you look is totally unbelievable. If you're into scotch, if you're into whiskey, if you're into good beers, everything is available to you there. The people are down to earth. They're so kind and generous. They're like Maritimers. I could go on and on and on for hours. Edinburgh Castle, Holy Road, Mary Queen of Scots. If you're into history, if you're into food, if you're into golf, if you're into fishing, there's something there for everybody. I have to stop talking. I have to give time to somebody else. Brad from Insight Vacations, let's go on a trip to Scotland.
I love it. Terrific memories, and I know that we'll make a whole bunch more when you travel to Scotland with Insight Vacations moving forward. Hello to all the members, and thank you to you, Patricia and Trudy, for having me today. I just want to say that we've been really busy over this last little while we've been staying at home, and just want to talk a little bit about our protocols that we put in play. Been working very closely with the World Travel and Tourism Council, as well as the World Health Organization to determine the global protocols and guidelines for really the travel industry. So now we've included not only an incredible travel director, and Shona is going to be speaking to us very shortly, but we've also included our new well-being director. The well-being director is dedicated to, of course, your well-being and has the latest health authority and local government guidelines at their fingertips to ensure that there's daily adherence to all of the protocols while you travel. But first and foremost is there to support, of course, the travel director to ensure that you have the best time ever. So we have Shona on this call, and Shona is going to be taking us through a couple of things about Scotland. And the first thing that she's going to chat about, of course, are the incredible comfort foods of Scotland. She'll move over to a particular personality in Scotland that she's fond of. And then she'll ask us to think about Scotland again when we travel, when the time is right. So, with that, I'd like to say thank you very much and please enjoy the presentation. Shona, you're going to take us through some of the local Scottish delicacies that we can enjoy when we're there with you.
Yes, 1 second. I just have a glamorous assistant to
Very curious.
Yes. Thank you, sir.
Whoa,
You're welcome.
amazing. Very impressive.
Thank you. I'm just going to,
Okay.
yes, marvelous. Thank you very much.
Wearing the uniform. Yes, very nice.
My butler.
All right.
Oops, there we go. Now,
What do
low
we have?
healthy selection.
A
First of all,
healthy selection.
this is healthy. You got to start the day with your porridge. That's one side. But we have really, really good food in Scotland. We've got great seafood and great, game and all the rest of it. But we do like our sweet treats. But we also have some very interesting savoury things, which people sometimes don't want to try, but you really should. One of them is this. Can you see? There we go. Haggis
Oh,
neeps. Oh, so good. It's my
that's
favorite.
haggis and
Potatoes
oh,
and turnip, and it's just lovely. We have it particularly twice a year. You have to have it on St Andrew's Day, 30th of November, and Robert Burns' anniversary on 25th of
of
January.
course. We have Robbie Burns as well over here.
Oh yes, I've seen his statue in Fredericton.
You got it.
Then, if we're on tour and we're on the coach and we have a very quick stop and you want something nice for lunch, you can have this, which is a Scotch pie.
A Scotch pie.
It's mutton inside, but I have the exotic version here, which is steak and haggis. And there's what the inside of a Scotch pie. These are so good when you get them
They
hot.
look delicious.
They're fantastic. If you want to be a wee bit healthier, you can have some smoked salmon.
Oh, very nice. We love smoked salmon as well.
Yep, and venison burgers. And you should really try oatcakes. In fact, Brad, I'm going to turn
Oatcakes.
it over to you so you can give them a try. Ready? 3, 2, 1, catch.
Oh,
Well,
oh, wow.
yeah, they're
Good throw. Good catch. I
good
will try
catch.
those.
Yeah, and you can have them with cheese. And we go to the Orkney Islands when we're on our country road to Scotland and some of our other UK itineraries, and they have really, really good cheese in the Orkney Islands.
Oh,
Fantastic.
nice.
Lovely. What else do we have? Oh, in the savoury department, we also have.
Oh, good.
Aren't they nice?
Mm.
Potato chips, or crisps as we call them, with haggis and black pepper flavour. They're
Wow.
really good. Do you want to try these?
I would love to try those.
Okay, I'm going to throw them. Ready to catch. 1, 2, 3, go.
Oh,
Ah, brilliant. Good catch.
wow. I am very curious about these.
Those are really nice.
Haggis and cracked black pepper.
Mm, they're really tasty. Try one.
Mm.
Then what else we got? Savoury. Oh, one other thing that we have, because we go to the Isle of Skye. Are they good?
Mm.
Are they tasty?
Wow. I need more of these. These are delicious.
Do you want to send you another packet? I'll send you them.
Please.
But look,
Mm.
butter from the Isle of Skye, which is really good, because one of the other things we really like to have, and I have them here, scones
Ah,
with butter. My Canadian butter dish, got this in Canada, with the Orkney or the Skye butter.
those
And
scones are actually quite high too. They're quite dense.
yeah, They're it sometimes they could be used as hockey pucks the way I make them, but these ones worked out all right. And then we have lots of really beautiful soft fruits in Scotland, so you always get really nice raspberry jam, which is delicious. And then cream, of course, to go with it because you have to always go for the low calorie version. So once we've had all the savouries, we have lots more sweets. You've got your scones. Then we have, obviously, there's, oops, excuse me, shortbread.
Oh,
Just
yes.
And then, oh,
Favorite.
you love these Tunnock's tea cakes.
Oh, Tunnocks. I've had one of those before, I think.
Scottish institution. These things are fantastic. You really have to have one of these. I'm going to throw this over. Ready? It's
Sure.
small, so you have to
Yep.
try and catch it. Ready, steady, go.
Oh,
That was a really good catch.
it was a good catch. I'm actually going to try this right away because, of course, I'm trying everything.
You have to. What do you think?
Mm,
Isn't that good?
that is delicious. So good.
We have on the coach, we do it as a flourish. So we give it to the guests when they're on the coach. A little pick me up after you've had a visit. Then you have, if you're having ice cream, you have to have snowballs with them. These are marshmallow. I mean, it's just a sugar fest.
Oh, those look so good.
I really like them. Then I think another thing you really have to try, Scottish tablet.
Tablet.
It's not a medicine. It's kind of like a maple fudge, only crumblier. There we go. You should try this. You will really, if you like a ton of tea cake, you'll love this. This is really tiny, so catch this bit. You ready?
Yep.
Ready? Go.
Oh. Oh,
Try it. I tell you, it's fantastic.
it's a little bit like our maple fudge.
Yeah, yeah. A little bit more vanilla than the maple flavor, but it's really good. And something that you make for, especially at Christmas time or birthdays or whatever, then homemade tablet is just fantastic. My mum used to hide it between the kitchen cupboard and the top of the microwave because my sisters and I would search the house for it because we knew it was there somewhere but could never find it.
For good reason.
I know. But then one day we
Wow.
did find it and our hiding place was ruined forever. And then what else have we got? Oh, these are also extremely good. Caramel wafers.
Caramel wafers. Well,
Mm,
they look really good.
they're really nice. In fact, look, see, and I'm going to throw you one of these over as well because this you will really like. Ready,
Yeah.
steady, go.
Oh,
Oh wow, you got a whole bag.
things come a lot bigger in Canada, apparently.
So see, I've got one, you've got eight. Oh my lord.
Oh,
I think that's all I have on my little tray just now. Hmm. I could have thrown the haggis and tatties and leaps to you, but it would have made a mess of your desk and your suit. So I'll
I
keep
heard
that outside.
there's a very particular drink that you have over there that we should probably try. So I'm
Everybody,
just gonna eat.
everybody, of course, knows whiskey, and we have some amazing gins now as well. Gins become really popular.
Gin.
So all this, particularly from Edinburgh and Glasgow, there's all these kind of craft gins. But there's one drink that is the what we call our other national drink, and it is Iron Brew.
Iron brew.
The recipe for Iron Brew is so secret that the family that make it's a family called Barr, and when the head of the family is retiring, only two other members of the family get access to the recipe, and it's locked away in a safe. It's they don't share it with anyone at all, and it's so good. Ready? I'm gonna. Do you want me to throw this? I'll throw you one before I open it so you can try it.
Okay, let's do it.
We're gonna try and catch this because it'll
Yeah,
be
sure.
ready, steady, go.
Oh,
Good catch. Ready? We'll open at the same time. 3, 2, 1.
oh,
I'm going to pour
it's
my
orange.
glass. So, yeah, so you can see the color. Look.
Huh.
This is particularly good if you've drunk too much whiskey the night before. Iron Brew helps put everything back in balance.
It's actually got a really nice, subtle orange flavor.
It's good, isn't it? And just in case you're on a diet, we do have a sugar-free version. So
Of course.
after all that other food that you've eaten, the last thing you'll worry about are the calories. Anyway, when you're on vacation, there's no such thing as a calorie. They don't
So
count.
how often would you drink an iron brew?
People drink it here like Coca-Cola. It's as
Okay.
popular as in fact, in a lot of places, they're not allowed to put iron brew on the same aisle as the Coke because it's more popular. I think Scotland's the only country in the world
Huh.
where iron brew outsells Coke. So people drink it like you would drink a regular soda pop.
It's actually really quite nice. I don't really drink soda or pop, but this one I would consider.
Yes, it gives you muscles.
Okay.
The slogan for it is "It's made in Scotland from girders."
I don't know if that's such a selling point here.
No, well, it's for us. So you've got to, when you come to Scotland, you have to have iron brew for sure.
Looks terrific.
Ah,
Mm.
great.
Well, this was fun. Thank you for the little bit of a treat here.
You're welcome. I'm glad you caught all those things as they came flying across the Atlantic.
Shona, there's quite a selection of protagonists and famous celebrities that have come from Scotland. Can you take us through a couple of your favorite?
Okay, my very favourite historical character from Scottish history, everybody knows about Robert the Bruce and William Wallace and Mary Queen of Scots, and I love all of them. But my personal favourite is Bonnie Prince Charlie, Prince Charles Edward Stuart. And he ties into a lot of what we see on our country roads of Scotland, for example, because he's connections to Edinburgh, to Inverness, to Culloden, to Skye. It's a very romantic story. It's a very unfortunate story, very sad story. He suffered from propaganda after the defeat at the Battle of Culloden and a lot of misinformation about him. And I feel he's very hard done to historically. But he also connects into itineraries that we do in Italy. For example, he was born in Rome and he lived
Oh,
in Bologna and he lived in Florence. Yes, so he was actually a Scottish prince, but he was Italian born. He was born in Rome 1720. His dad was King James the Third and King James the Eighth and Third in exile. And a story that everyone will learn before we get to this point is about the Hanoverians taking over the Stuarts being exiled. So his father was exiled to Rome, and Charles was born there. And he was brought up with this great sense that his duty was to try and get the crown back for his father. His father had actually tried in 1715 and had failed. So Charlie was brought up with this was his destiny to come to Scotland and sort it out. So when he was 24 years old, he set sail for Scotland. He arrived with 5 men, a priest, and a goat. I'm not quite sure why they had the goat, but anyway. And they made their way over to the mainland of Scotland, landed on an island, and they came to Glenfinnan. And there he stood with such confidence, and he said, "No, the clans will come. They will come and join me." And sure enough, they did. He raised quite a large army, about 6,000 men. They marched on Edinburgh. They took the city, but not the castle. The castle never capitulated, but they did get the city. And he was quite the sensation because he was very tall, he was very handsome, he had beautiful, continental manners. He spoke English with a very heavy Italian accent. He was just he had the X factor. He was extremely charming. And even ladies that there's a lovely diary entry from a young woman whose father was not a Jacobite supporter, but she said when she saw the prince, she swooned because he was so handsome and told her friend not to tell her father because he wouldn't be impressed to discover that she had swooned at the enemy. But he took Edinburgh, he moved down through Scotland, very successful into England, got all the way down to Derby, which is roughly 100 miles north of London. By this time it's November. Campaigning traditionally took place in the spring, summer, autumn, never in the winter.
right.
Charles, his father, had told him, he said, "You don't have military experience, so you must bow to the experience of the men that you'll be working with, of your generals." So the general said, "Listen, we have to go back to Scotland. We're too far from home. Supply lines are stretched. The men have farms they want to attend to. You need to go back." He's going, "No, no, let's keep going." But in the end, he remembered what his father told him. So he said, "Okay, fine, we'll withdraw." So they retreated back to Scotland. 3 days after he'd left Derby, a messenger arrived to tell him that London was in chaos, the treasury was loaded onto ships, the king was ready to flee, London was his for the taking, and the message came too late.
Wow.
We're already almost back in Scotland. So everyone dispersed for the winter time. In the meantime, the king's second son, King George's second son, the Duke of Cumberland, had returned from campaigning in Europe, and he was dispatched to deal with the problem in Scotland. So he gave chase. Charles by this time was up in Inverness. He had made that his winter base. And they were first cousins. The Duke of Cumberland and Bonnie Prince Charlie were cousins, same age, and the battle. It became clear they were going to have to fight the battle around Inverness. Lord George Murray, who was Charlie's second in command, has a connection with our trip as well because he was born in Blair Castle and brought up in Blair Castle,
Oh,
and that's where we go for afternoon tea.
right.
And Lord George Murray was a seasoned campaigner, and he said to Charlie, "This is not a good place for us to fight." And we go to Culloden on the tour, and you'll see it's not good for Highlanders. They needed a hill. The Highland charge was their big weapon. It's flat. However, it was too late to do anything about it, and Lord George Murray wrote, said, "This is highly unsuitable ground. It's not good." Anyway, the battle started. It was the 16th of April, 1746. The battle started. It was over very, very quickly. The Highland army was completely decimated. It was destroyed. To make matters worse, the Duke of Cumberland altered orders. And I was saying at the beginning, the propaganda and it's misinformation. He altered the order. The order was to give quarter, and he altered it to give no quarter. So everybody on the ground was massacred. Women and children had come to find their relatives. They were killed. He went basically on a spree around the Highlands, murdering everybody that suspected being a Jacobite. Charlie was dragged away from the scene. He was then on the run for about 8 months in Scotland. Now, he's a tall, very handsome, European, heavy accent, very regal, and he stuck out like a sore thumb. It was clear
Sure.
what it was. There was a £30,000 ransom on his head, which is equivalent to millions today, and not one person gave him up. Not one. And a British officer was actually, a Scottish officer was arrested by his fellows, and they said, "You know where the prince is?" And he said, "I do." And they said, "Well, you're obliged to tell us, you're a British officer." And he said, "I am, but I'm also a Scot. And what kind of Scot would I be if I betrayed my prince? I'm not telling you." So he was basically, in fact, one of the stories, he was walking down the road and people would curtsy and bow before him. And like, "Don't do that, you're giving him away." But eventually he had to be taken from the Scottish mainland over to the island of Skye, and it was a lady called Flora MacDonald who did that. She helped him. She disguised him as her maid, which was kind of difficult because he was so tall, and he insisted on wearing a sword, so the sword was sticking out through his dress, and he had big feet, and they couldn't find ladies' shoes to fit him, so he had to wear his own shoes. And he was walking in front of her, and she's going, "No, you have to go behind me, you're my servant." And they said he was an Irish maid called Betty Burke. And the reason they chose an Irish person was the Gaelic was different. So that was an excuse for him not speaking. Because, of course, if he spoke, the game was up. So they smuggled him on board a boat over to Skye. It's a very beautiful song that goes with that, the Skye boat song. He was taken to Skye, and from there he was taken over to France, and he went from France to Florence, and then Florence to Rome, and he died in Rome in 1788. And he's buried in St. Peter's Basilica, actually, in Rome, with his father and his brother. And, he's one of the great, it's a tragic story, and all these
Yeah.
what ifs. What if he hadn't gone when he did? What if he'd got the message, And then all the misinformation that's put out to try and justify the massacre that followed. And we go to Culloden. It's a very, very atmospheric place. The visitor centre has the most incredible artifacts in it. You'll see the waistcoat made for Charles. You'll see letters written by him. So he fits in with so much of our trip. It's just great. And for me, he's one of the wronged characters of Scottish history. It's my mission to put it right.
To do right by him.
Yes.
Listen, Shona, what an incredible story, and certainly one that we'll look forward to seeking out when we travel next to Scotland and, of course, to Italy and some of the other countries that you've mentioned as well. What an incredible story.
Yeah, he ties into everything. So yes, come and I'll tell you all about it.
We have such passion and such love for the Scots and for Scotland. Coming from Scotland yourself and living in Glasgow, just if you could give us a couple of reasons why we should keep Scotland still warm in our hearts and
Well,
looking forward to travel.
because Scotland has a very strong connection with Canada for many, many reasons. You've got Nova Scotia. Most of us my sister lives in Canada, and most of us have relatives in Canada. And when we hosted the Commonwealth Games in 2014 here, most Scots had a Scottish flag in hope and a Canadian flag in expectation because we don't. We are tiny compared. We would fit into Canada 128 times. We're tiny. but there's so much variety in the landscape and in the scenery, and there's so many different things to visit. We've got lovely museums, we've got beautiful castles, we've got lovely cathedrals, we go to all these beautiful islands, we've got great food, healthy as well as
As well as the snack food that we've just
well as the
gone through.
snack food, as well as the sugary things that because we really like our sugary food and our desserts and everything. That's our favorite thing. um One of the other things that is very important when you come to visit, the music and the culture and the stories. We love telling stories. We love just the myths and legends that we've got from way back, and the historical figures, and just stories about anything really. And you're never on your own for very long in Scotland. If you want to get to know people when you're here, stand at a bus stop. And within about 5 minutes, there'll be a full scale conversation going, and everybody will know everything else, and they all disappear. And we always say, in fact, friends of mine from England always think it's funny, whenever we finish in a shop, in Canada, you might say, have a nice day or something. Here we always say, see you later. And one of my friends from London said, I'm never going to see that person again in my life. You never know, you might. So we always finish, well, I'll see you later. And everyone, we don't like to see people on their own. We like to come and talk to you and find out where you're from. And, oh, yeah, my cousin lives in Canada. Do you know them? So you're always going to have you get to know the country through the people. And you
Yes.
always get to know people when you're here, for sure. Everybody loves a chit chat, especially with people, because they'll know somebody from Canada for absolutely certainly. No doubt about it.
Well, Shona, there's no question how much we love you and we love our Scottish brethren, and we appreciate your time. And we know that the world is opening up, and Scotland is at the very top of the list of not only Canadians, but Americans and the rest of the world. And we look forward to visiting you very soon.
I can't wait to welcome you. Be my
Thank
pleasure.
you.
Fun.
Thank you, everyone. That was a wonderful presentation. And now I'm excited and I would love, love to travel to Scotland. And speaking of that, CAA Atlantic has a very special addition to our 2022 group departures. We have an exclusive coach with Insight Vacations. It's going to be a small group of Atlantic Canadians only traveling this particular itinerary, the country roads of Scotland, in May 4th, 2022. We're going to be going from Glasgow, and we've added actually an extra night at the end to bring us from Edinburgh back to Glasgow. We know this is a wonderful itinerary, and even more excitingly, Shona is going to be joining us. So if you've enjoyed Shona and you've been intrigued by this itinerary, we've got the perfect customized CAA Atlantic tour for you. And you can certainly reach out to any of our CAA advisors to get more information on that tour. If you've enjoyed this show and like to participate in some of our other virtual travel shows this weekend, by all means, please go to our CAA Atlantic website and register for any of our other upcoming virtual events. Thank you, Brad, Shona, Patricia, for joining us for this session this afternoon. I think we've all gotten to learn a little bit more about Scotland. And certainly, if you've got any questions, please reach out to one of our CAA travel advisors. They'd be happy to go through the material with you. And have a great weekend, and we hope to see you real soon.
Such a pleasure. Thanks, everyone.